Heartwarming journey, betrayed wife discovers incredible freedom, spends 50,000, dates a hot CEO. Sarah's life felt like an overproduced Netflix series, complete with all the tropes: a devoted wife, a mother whose calendar overflowed with soccer practices, bake sales, and family movie nights. But one chilling evening, beneath the soft glow of her floral wallpaper, she stumbled upon her husband's texts. "Can't wait to see you later," it read, the words echoing in her mind like a siren song. Instead of the heartwarming laughter her family had always shared, her life turned into a dark comedy. Every memory morphed into a lie, leaving her feeling like a ghost haunting her own existence. The love she poured into their family now felt like an empty vessel, a cruel joke played by someone she trusted. Just when despair threatened to consume her, Sarah found solace in her circle of girlfriends. With wine glasses in hand and laughter bubbling through the air, they shared their stories of heartbreak, lost dreams, and second chances, moments when they had felt invisible. As Sarah listened, she felt warmth return to her icy heart. Each tale resonated, lighting a fire within her, igniting her desire for something more than just surviving her circumstances. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sarah surprised herself by investing the 50,000 she had painstakingly saved for her children's education into a journey of self-discovery. She jumped headfirst into dating, quick coffee runs, texting butterflies, and dinners filled with nervous laughter. Each awkward encounter chipped away at her old self, leaving her feeling lighter. Then came Jake. He was a charismatic CEO with deep blue eyes that seemed to pull her in like gravity. Their candlelit dinners felt like stolen treasures, and every conversation with him was both exhilarating and terrifying, pushing her to reevaluate who she really was and what she wanted from life. But with every moment of joy, guilt crept in like an unwelcome guest. Torn between her newfound ambitions and the unwavering love for her children, the struggle weighed heavily on her, filling her chest with a tight knot of anxiety. Just as vibrant shades of her new life began to blend the once monochrome colors of her past, the phone rang, her husband's name flashing across the screen, bringing another shift in her narrative. "I want to come home," he said, remorse dripping from his voice as he revealed that he had been seeking therapy, an indication he was willing to change. Sarah's heart raced as she stood at a pivotal moment, caught in the chaos of emotion. Could she find a way to balance her desires with her duties? The question hung in the air like fog in the dawn, a choice that could redefine what family and love truly meant. As her heart swung between the thrill of newfound love and the ache of familial ties, the thought lingered, could she ever truly reconcile the woman she was becoming with the mother she always wanted to be? The adventure was just beginning, and she had yet to discover the depths of her own courage. The phone slipped from Sarah's fingers, clattering onto the kitchen table, sending a wave of shock through her. Her mind buzzed like a swarm of angry bees, drowning out every coherent thought. "I want to come home." Those words lingered, echoing in her heart like a curse. After everything, was it really that simple? Could they just pick up the pieces of broken trust and try to fit them back together? Taking a deep breath, she stepped back from the table. Her children were upstairs, blissfully unaware of the emotional war raging just beyond their bedroom door. The laughter from their last family game night mingled with the unforgiving reality of her husband's betrayal. The contrast gnawed at her. She felt lost between two worlds, the past she thought she wanted and the future that was finally opening up. Jake's bright smile flashed in her mind. The way he looked at her made her feel alive, like she could do anything. She had started wearing clothing that made her feel beautiful again, enjoyed candlelit dinners that ignited sparks she thought had long dimmed. But was it fair to build her dreams on the ashes of her marriage? Guilt washed over her, an overwhelming tide of confusion. "Mom? Her daughter's voice broke through the haze. Sarah turned, forcing a smile that felt heavy on her lips. "Can we make cookies? I want to surprise Dad." The innocence of the request struck her heart like an arrow. All she wanted was for her children to have the happiness they deserved, yet she was standing at a crossroads that threatened to lead them down the path of broken promises. "Sure, sweetie." She knelt beside her daughter, trying to push away the storm of emotions. Together, they gathered flour, sugar, and chocolate chips, mixing them all with little giggles and flour-covered hands. It reminded her of simpler times when life revolved around the sweetness of baking, not betrayal. But just as the cookies warmed in the oven, so did her heart. She savored the moment, realizing it was a temporary escape, not a solution, but moments later, her phone buzzed, pulling her back to reality. It was a text from Jake. "Thinking of you. Can't wait for our next date." Every ounce of emotional progress felt suddenly fragile, like glass poised to shatter. She hesitated, uncertainty flooding her as she stared at the screen, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. What did she want? Did she want to answer him? What if her heart chose this dangerous path, believing it could lead to a deeper happiness? The options spun around her like dervishes. While she wrestled with her choices, her phone rang again. It was her husband once more, voice trembling. "I love you, Sarah. I'm ready to do the work. I've changed." The sincerity in his tone sent shivers down her spine. Tears sprang to her eyes. Could love really be rebuilt? Was change possible? Suddenly, all of her options, the safe but painful past with her husband, the exhilarating yet frightening newness with Jake, crashed together, leaving her breathless. What did she truly want? Outside, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Somewhere in that kaleidoscope of colors, she hoped to find clarity. But for now, she took a deep breath, folding her arms protectively around herself. As she stood at the abyss of a monumental decision, one thing was clear: whatever path she chose next would require strength she didn't yet know she had. With renewed determination, she whispered to the empty room, "I have to figure this out." But that was just the beginning. What would happen when she finally took a step into her new life? The thought hung heavily in the air, pregnant with possibility. The smell of freshly baked cookies wafted through the kitchen, filling the air with warmth and comfort. Sarah watched her daughter dance around the countertop, flour streaking across her cheeks, her laughter a sweet melody that melted away some of the burdens pressing down on Sarah's heart. In moments like these, she clung tightly to the fleeting joys of motherhood, a shred of normalcy amidst the chaos of her emotions, but as the sweet aroma swirled, so did her mind, caught between the anticipation of what might be and the shadow of what had already been. How do you measure love? With memories? Dreams? Or maybe it was found in the small choices made every day, the way her husband used to surprise her with flowers, or how Jake's gaze sparked undeniable electricity. The contrast was dizzying. Part of her ached for the safety of her family, while another part craved the excitement of new beginnings. "Mom! Can we decorate them now?" her daughter chirped, breaking Sarah from her reverie. The innocent excitement in her voice was like a lifeline, pulling her back even further from the dark thoughts creeping in. Sarah nodded, forcing a smile as she rummaged through the pantry for sprinkles and icing. They spent the next half hour lost in decorating their sugary creations, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within Sarah. Each colorful sprinkle she placed felt like a tiny step toward an answer, until her phone buzzed again, this time with the unmistakable ringtone of her husband. Taking a deep breath, she set down the icing tube. "I need to talk to him," she realized, almost as if the thought had a life of its own. "I'll be right back, okay?" she said to her daughter, who nodded, eyes focused on a particularly lopsided cookie. Stepping outside, the cool evening air enveloped her, a stark contrast to the warm chaos behind her. She answered, her pulse quickening. "Hello?" "Sarah," his voice cracked, vulnerable and raw. "I know I don't deserve your attention, but I've been working on myself." I don't want to lose you. Please, give me a chance. Her breath hitched in her throat. The sincerity in his voice pulled at her heartstrings. But the memories, the feeling of betrayal and heartache competed fiercely against his words. She thought of Jake, how he saw her for who she was now, not just who she used to be. What have you changed, Marcus? She asked, demanding honesty. I've been seeing a therapist. I realize how much I've hurt you. I want us to rebuild. I'll do whatever it takes. The light surrounding her dimmed, filled with uncertainty as she wrapped her arms around herself, wishing she could simply breathe away the weight of this moment. Could she trust him again? Was change genuinely possible, or was it just the same line repeated over and over? I need time, she said finally, needing to draw boundaries she hadn't before. Take all the time you need, Sarah, he said softly. I'll be here when you're ready. After the call ended, she stood in the lingering silence, her heart a battlefield. In that moment, the realization washed over her like a wave she had nothing to lose by exploring her own happiness. Maybe it wasn't about choosing one road over another but blending the pieces of her life that made sense. She returned to the kitchen, her spirit lightening, filled with the possibility of being true to herself. Her daughter looked up, icing in her hair, and giggled. Mom, look! I made a butterfly. Wow! It's beautiful! Sarah exclaimed, motivated by her child's innocence. As they finished decorating the cookies, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. What if exploring her desires didn't have to be a betrayal? What if there were ways to find happiness without sacrificing her family? Later that night, as she tucked her daughter into bed, a thought lingered in her mind. Perhaps the journey ahead was more a matter of embracing the unknown than fearing it, but even as she lay in bed that night, the walls of her heart echoed with one undeniable truth: the flame of uncertainty still burned brightly, leaving her with one burning question: were the pieces of her past worth rebuilding, or should she leap into a new chapter altogether? The morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting gentle rays across the room. Sarah woke with a jolt, the lingering words from her conversation with Marcus still echoing in her mind. She had asked for time to think, but that time weighed heavily on her like a stone. As she stretched out of bed, the bright day ahead felt both promising and daunting. The decision she faced loomed like a storm cloud, each possibility swirling in her head. Could she ignite a spark of rejuvenation within her life, or would the chains of her past continue to hold her back? After sending her daughter off to play with a neighbor, Sarah grabbed her yoga mat and headed to the sun-drenched living room. With each stretch and breath, she focused on the idea of release, letting go of what had anchored her down for too long. Let it be, she whispered softly, her voice breaking the morning silence. As she moved through different poses, a flicker of determination ignited within her. It wasn't about locking herself in, but exploring her desires and finding joy again. As she came into child's pose, her heart whispered a tiny affirmation she was ready to embrace the unknown. Later that afternoon, she decided to visit the local coffee shop, a cozy spot that had always been a safe haven for local chatter. The air was filled with the rich scent of espresso and pastries, a comforting embrace as she entered. She could hear snippets of conversations, laughter spilling out like a favorite song on repeat. Finding a quiet corner, she sank into a chair, gathered her thoughts, and pulled out her notebook. As she stared at the blank page, she had a sudden urge to write. The words flowed like water, outlining everything that was holding her back: fear, doubt, and the ghost of a love that had transformed into something much darker. But the more she wrote, the lighter she felt. Scribbles morphed into dreams, traveling to new places, meeting new people, and maybe even embracing a new kind of love. The thought fluttered in her mind like a butterfly escaping from a jar. Before she knew it, a rush of energy filled the space. Her heart raced when she noticed Jake, the charming CEO from her local gym, striding into the coffee shop. He hadn't been out of her mind since that first moment they met. His smile was disarming, making her feel alive even in the rarest of encounters. Their eyes locked for a split second, and she felt a twinge of hesitation. She wasn't ready for any kind of relationship, right? But why not just say hello? What harm could it do? Hey, Sarah. Fancy seeing you here, he said, his voice deep and inviting. Hi, Jake. Just working on some ideas, she replied, her cheeks flushing slightly. I want to keep you then, he said, his smile radiating warmth, but how about I buy you a coffee? We can chat a little, I'd love to hear your ideas. Before she could second-guess herself, she nodded. It felt liberating, spontaneous, and a small part of her sang with joy at the thought of connecting with someone without the baggage of expectations. As they chatted over steaming mugs, laughter filled the air. The gentle banter illuminated her heart, sparking something deep inside. But as Sarah indulged in the moment, her thoughts kept flitting back to Marcus. Could she truly move forward with someone new while grappling with her past? Uncertainty swirled, but for the first time in a long while, so did hope. Just as they exchanged numbers and agreed to meet again, Sarah felt a rush of excitement but also the familiar echo of doubt. Was she inching closer to her own happiness, or was she just skimming the surface? With new connections forming and old ones fading, the question remained, was she finally prepared to leap into the unknown, or would she hesitate, afraid of the freedom that awaited? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah made her way home, her heart light yet tangled in thoughts. Jake's laughter echoed in her ears, a sound that thrummed through her like the final notes of a favorite song. She was still reveling in her newfound connection, but uncertainty nibbled at the edges of her joy. What did it mean to entertain these feelings? Was she being reckless, or was it simply time to embrace life? When she stepped inside her house, a cozy scent of dinner wafted toward her. It was her daughter, Ella, bustling around in the kitchen, helping prepare a meal. Such innocence radiated from her, and Sarah felt a rush of warmth. This little girl was the rock of her world. Mom! I made your favorite. Ella chirped, her bright eyes shining with excitement as she stirred a pot. Pasta primavera. Sounds amazing. Sarah said, pulling her daughter into a hug. As they sat down to eat, Ella chattered about her day, what she'd drawn, who she had played with. Each word was a thread weaving them closer, and Sarah found solace in that bond against the backdrop of her swirling emotions, but as she watched her daughter animatedly talk, Sarah couldn't shake the pangs of guilt that unfurled in her chest. Was it fair to think of new beginnings when so much was left unresolved with Marcus? Questions pulsed in her mind like a drum, steady and relentless. Would pursuing her happiness only bring discord to their lives? After dinner, while Ella was busy with her art supplies, Sarah slipped onto the back porch, seeking fresh air to clear her thoughts. The night sky twinkled above her, stars scattered like diamonds. It was beautiful yet isolated, mirroring the tempest in her heart. She found herself leaning against the railing, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the horizon. Was she ready to step into the light? If she did embrace these feelings for Jake, what would she say to Marcus? What if he wanted to reconcile? The thought sent shivers down her spine. The idea of facing him again, of seeing the hurt in his eyes, gripped her with fear. Maybe I just need to figure this out, she murmured to herself, exhaling slowly. Suddenly, her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking her thoughts. It was a message from Jake. I had a great time today. Looking forward to our next coffee. When are you free? Her heart fluttered at the words. They felt like a lifebuoy tossed to her in choppy waters. She hesitated, staring at the screen, the weight of her next move heavy in her palms. She wanted to respond, to keep the momentum going, but doubt wrapped around her like a thick fog. With a deep breath, she began typing, her fingers flying over the screen. I had fun too. How about this weekend? The instant she hit send, her heart raced. Sarah leaned back against the porch rail, feeling every beat in her chest, nervousness, excitement, fear, and hope mingling together. What would Jake offer her that she couldn't find with Marcus? Could she step into this newness without it becoming a betrayal? Her phone lit up again, Jake's reply almost instantaneous. Perfect. Can't wait to see you again. As she processed this, Sarah felt the flicker of what could be a budding relationship, an exciting new chapter. But then, a flicker of doubt came rushing back, dimming the light. Could she dive into this without weaving chaos into her already delicate life? Would it lead to empowerment or destruction? The clock ticked on, the world swirled, and Sarah found herself at a crossroads, wondering which path would truly lead her home. Before she could reflect any further, Ella called from inside, her voice bright and filled with curiosity. "Mom! Can we make cookies? You promised." With a smile breaking through her tangled thoughts, Sarah nodded, stepping back into the warmth of home, yet the question lingered, was she ready to balance both worlds past and future without losing herself in the process? As she mixed ingredients with her daughter, laughter stirring the air, Sarah felt the weight of her decision pressing on her, wondering if the next moment would be the one that changed everything. The next morning dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside Sarah. The sunlight streamed through her bedroom window, illuminating dust motes dancing lazily in the air. As she rolled out of bed, the promise of a new day tucked itself into her routine alongside the remnants of last night's laughter. Ella was already up, her small figure a whirl of energy. Sarah found her at the kitchen table, crayons splayed everywhere as she worked on a drawing that resembled a fantastical creature with bright wings and an even brighter smile. Her heart swelled at the sight. It was moments like these that made everything else seem distant: the worries about Marcus, the uncertainty about Jake, the pressures of life. "Good morning, sunshine," Sarah said, ruffling Ella's hair as she filled the kettle for their breakfast tea. "Mom, look!" Ella exclaimed, her voice a shout of vibrancy. "Isn't my dragon beautiful? It's magical," Sarah replied, and Ella beamed at the praise, as if it might set her creativity free. They shared breakfast, the normalcy grounding Sarah amidst her unsettled feelings. Yet, the day ahead loomed naggingly in the back of her mind. She had promised Jake they would get coffee, and as the hours inched toward their meeting, her stomach twisted in knots. By midday, Sarah stood in front of her closet, staring at the meager options hanging there. Casual shirts and worn jeans seemed too mundane for the flutter of butterflies taking flight in her chest. It felt absurd to be worried about the outfit for a coffee date, but she wanted to show a version of herself that was hopeful and renewed, not tethered to her past. Finally, she settled on a soft blue blouse that complemented her hazel eyes, a simple choice but one that made her feel pretty. As she left the house, the scent of blooming flowers filled the air. It was spring, yet Sarah felt as if she were awakening from a long winter sleep, a thaw that was both exhilarating and terrifying. When she arrived at the cafe, the bell above the door jingled, announcing her presence. Jake was already there, seated at a small table tucked away at the corner, his face lighting up as he spotted her. He stood, his smile warm and inviting, effortlessly easing the tension coiling within her. "Hey, beautiful," he said, and warmth flooded over Sarah, a flush spreading across her cheeks. "Hi. Sorry, I hope I didn't keep you waiting," she replied, sliding into a chair. They talked easily, laughter punctuating their conversation like bubbles in champagne. Jake shared stories of his work in tech, and Sarah found herself leaning in, captivated by his passion and the glimmer of authenticity in his eyes. It felt like a dance, steps taken in rhythm, with a melody they were both beginning to understand. But then her phone buzzed on the table. Marcus's name glared at her from the screen, a stark reminder of the tangled web she was trying to untangle. A cold wave of panic washed over her. What did he want? Did he sense something shifting? Jake noticed the sudden change in her demeanor. "Everything okay?" Swallowing hard, Sarah forced a smile, her heart racing in response to the internal conflict brewing. "Yeah, just an old friend." The moment hung between them, a flicker of uncertainty. Jake didn't press, but his eyes searched hers, a vulnerability emerging that matched her own. They shared a moment of silence, laden with unspoken questions. Should she tell him about Marcus? Would it change everything? With the conversation hovering in the air, Sarah felt the delicate balance of honesty and hope rest in her hands. The potential for something significant was blossoming, but so was the weight of her past. Jake broke the tension with a casual smile, but Sarah sensed the doubt lingering like a shadow. "Want to go for a walk after this?" he suggested, and that surge of excitement rekindled within her. "Sure. That sounds great," she replied, but within her grew a sense of unease. As they finished their coffees, Sarah realized she had a decision to make, a choice full of implications that could shatter or build her world. Would she risk it all for this new beginning with Jake? When they stepped outside, the sun shone brighter, wrapping them in a golden embrace. But in the back of her mind, echoes of uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Just then, her phone buzzed again, and this time, the message from Marcus seemed to scream for her attention. "Can we talk? I really need to see you." Sarah's heart sank, caught between the past and the beautiful present that was unfolding before her. What would she say? And more importantly, what decision could she make that wouldn't break her new path? The crossroads she once faced now felt like an avalanche of choices descending rapidly. As they began to walk, Sarah's mind raced with thoughts of who she wanted to be. Would taking a step forward with Jake push her back into the shadows of her past? The resolution to that question loomed nearer than she thought. As they walked down the quaint street, the sun's warmth dripping like honey on their shoulders, Jake turned to Sarah, his stride casual, but his eyes earnest. "You okay? You seem somewhere else," he said, a hint of concern lacing his voice. Caught off guard, Sarah's heart raced. She forced a smile. "Just thinking about life, I guess." The words felt inadequate, slipping from her lips like grains of sand. Life felt so complex lately, as fragile as Ella's drawings on the kitchen table. Jake nodded, but the worry etched in his brow deepened. "You know, you can talk to me if something's bothering you." The invitation hung in the air, laden with pressure. Did she dare open that door? "Thanks, I appreciate that." She hesitated, considering the tangled mess of her thoughts. But just as quickly as the thought surfaced, she pushed it away. This was a new beginning, right? A chance to move forward. Still, her phone buzzed again, jolting her back into reality. Another message from Marcus, suffocating her with its urgency. "I need to see you. Please." They strolled past a park bursting with life, children laughing, dogs chasing sticks, sunlight dancing off swings, and for a brief moment, she was swept up in the energy of it all. Jake's laughter provided a welcome distraction, as she turned to him, momentarily forgetting the weight of her phone. "Do you come here often?" she asked, keen to redirect the conversation. "Not as much as I'd like," he replied, his smile radiant. "I love it. It reminds me of my childhood." "Really? What was that like?" His eyes sparkled as he shared stories of climbing trees, building forts, and catching fireflies. She listened intently, letting his memories soak into her heart, a warm reminder of simpler days. Every laugh, every spark of nostalgia shared chipped away at her anxiety about the messages from Marcus. She wanted to lose herself in the moment, but the echo of that phone still pulled at a corner of her mind. Sarah Jake's voice softened. "You seem really lost in thought. Something on your mind? It's okay if you want to share." She forced herself to breathe. The desire to unburden her heart warred with her determination to protect this flickering light blooming between them. Jake deserved honesty. But how much should she share? The weight of her past with Marcus felt like a stone around her neck, dragging her down. Would opening up to Jake just push her deeper into that darkness? But keeping secrets wouldn't feel right either. "Jake," she began, her voice steadying as she prepared to reveal a part of herself that felt unbearably heavy. "There's something you should know about my past. About Marcus." Before she could say more, her phone buzzed a final time, vibrating like a desperate heartbeat in her hand. It felt like fate squeezing her between two rival worlds, the life she was trying to embrace with Jake and the one she was trying to escape with Marcus. Jake looked at her intently, waiting for her to continue, his genuine curiosity palpable. The air thickened with anticipation, and in the back of her mind, doubt gnawed at her resolve. Would this moment change everything between them? Would it push him away? Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself for the leap ahead, unsure of what would come next but knowing she had to choose. The moment stretched, decision hanging as heavy as the clouds that danced above. What if laying her heart bare opened wounds she wasn't ready to face? In the tension of the now, she could feel both hope and fear mingling like waves crashing at her feet. And as she opened her mouth to speak, the first words slipped free, trembling on the edge of change. But would her truth bring them closer, or might it unravel everything? Jake, I think we need to. What she needed seemed so clear yet so dangerously uncertain. And as his gaze remained fixed on her, 1,000 roads to the future started to unfold at her feet. Which one would she take? Sarah, I think we need to. There was a gentle urgency in her voice, but the words tangled in her throat. She looked into Jake's eyes, a swirling mix of hope and doubt reflecting back at her. Her phone vibrated again, the nagging reminder of Marcus pulling her back to the edge of that dark pit she thought she could escape. She glanced down at the screen. I can't do this right now, she whispered, more to herself than to Jake. Hey, he said, gently nudging her shoulder, what's going on? You're white as a ghost. The worry in his voice made her heart ache more than it already did. She knew he cared, and that made her even more afraid of what she might unleash. Marcus, he's been trying to reach me, Sarah finally confessed, feeling the words tumble out. He keeps texting, and I don't understand why. I thought I was done with all of that. Jake's expression darkened slightly. Marcus? As in your ex? Yeah, she replied, the tension rising in her chest. He's been well, let's just say he's not quite ready to let go of me. They stood in a cacophony of laughter and happiness around them, yet Sarah felt like she had plunged into cold water. I just don't know how to deal with it, she managed to say. He wants to see me, and do you want to see him? Jake interrupted, his tone softer now, almost protective. The question hit her like a gust of wind. Did she? No, she said quickly, but doubt seeped in. But what if he's I don't know trying to trap me again? Jake took a step closer, filling the space between them. You're not trapped, Sarah. You're free. You choose what to do next. Tears welled in her eyes, a mixture of relief and frustration. But what if I don't want to mess this up with you, Jake? I've finally found a spark in my life again, and Marcus is like this dark cloud hanging over me. It's not about him, Jake said, the warmth in his voice wrapping around her like a blanket. It's about who you are now. You've survived something heavy. You're stronger than you think. His words swirled around her, detangling the knots in her stomach. Maybe this was a moment of clarity, a chance to push through the storm. But a part of her still gripped that fear, the fear of digging up the past, and it held her back like shackles. Jake, she said, her voice quaking as she weighed her next words. What if he tries to find me? What if he gets angry? I don't want to put you in danger. Let him come, Jake replied with a fierce determination that sent a shiver down her spine. You don't have to go through it alone anymore. We can navigate this together. His steadfastness ignited a flicker of hope within her, battling against the dread. You mean that? Of course. I care about you, Sarah. I want to help you move forward. The weight in her chest began to lift, but a new fear emerged. If she leaned on Jake now, would it make them stronger, or would it only draw her further into a space she was afraid to revisit? Opening her heart seemed like a risk so vital yet so vulnerable. Together, she finally whispered, the word hanging like a promise. For the first time that day, she felt something shift inside her, a crack in the armor built from worry. But as that glow of hope ignited, her phone buzzed once more, the message lighting up the screen with Marcus's name, we need to talk. This isn't over. Breath caught in her throat, she looked up at Jake, his brow furrowed in concern. Everything hung in the balance, as the moment slipped weightlessly between fear and newfound strength. What would happen next? Would Marcus's shadow creep back into her life, or could she finally step into the light? Jake, she said, her heart racing once again, as he reached for her hand, ready to face whatever came next. Would this be the moment everything changed? Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the phone, the glare of Marcus's name seeming to burn into her thoughts. Jake's grip on her hand tightened, grounding her in the moment, while a whirlwind of emotions swirled around her. She could feel the laughter from the party fading into the background, absorbed by the ever-growing shadow of her past. "What are you thinking?" Jake whispered, his voice low and steady, pulling her back. She took a shaky breath, her mind racing. "I don't know if I can handle this again, Jake. I thought I had closed that chapter. But he won't let me go." Jake stepped even closer, his warmth enveloping her. "You're stronger than you realize. You've already faced him once. You can do it again, this time with me by your side." Those words hugged her like a comforter on a chilly night. Yet doubt clawed at her. What if he gets aggressive? What if he tries to manipulate me again? Jake hesitated for a moment, and she could see the wheels turning in his mind. "We'll make a plan. Talk to someone if it feels right. Don't just react. You're not that girl anymore, Sarah. You have choices. You have me." That brought a flicker of warmth back to her chest, but then she felt the heavy weight of anxiety stealing the light. "And what if he pulls you in with his chaos? I can't face losing you." With a finger, Jake brushed a tear away from her cheek. "I'm not going anywhere. But you have to decide what you want." Her thoughts raced. Did she want to see Marcus? Or did she just want to confront the fears he symbolized? The tug-of-war inside her was relentless, pulling her between dread and the promise of a fresh start. Taking a deep breath, she resolved to listen to the inner voice that had been silencing for too long. "I want to face this." The old Sarah was scared and alone. "But I'm trying to be someone new, someone who won't shy away from her past." Jake smiled, and his pride filled her with a renewed sense of courage. "I believe in you," he said, his thumb running along her knuckles. "Let me be there when you confront him. It's time to reclaim your story." With each moment that passed, confidence began to blossom inside her. She was not a victim, she was a survivor. She was unlocking a door that had long remained shut, ready to step through. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. The familiar tone sent a jolt of anxiety through her, but she didn't hesitate to look. Another message from Marcus, just one conversation. "I deserve that, don't you think?" "Sarah, you don't have to respond right away," Jake advised softly. "This is your choice." As those words sunk in, she felt a sense of power rise within her. Maybe this was pivotal. Her own moment of truth. Could she turn the page on this part of her life for good? "Okay," she whispered, feeling the shifting sands of her fears beneath her feet. "I'll talk to him. But I'm bringing you with me." "Always," Jake said. The moment felt significant, the air crackled with unspoken promises and uncharted paths. But just as she was about to reply to Marcus, her phone lit up again. This time it was a call, an unknown number flashing on the screen. Sarah's heart raced once more, uncertainty flooding her veins. Who could it be? Was it Marcus or someone else trying to pull her back into a past she was desperate to escape? "Jake," she began, her voice trembling. "Answer it," he urged, determination in his eyes. "You've come this far." With her heart hammering, she reached for the phone, every nerve ending tingling with anticipation. What was waiting for her on the other end? Could this call change everything? The air crackled with tension as Sarah pressed the green button, her fingers trembling with both fear and anticipation. The call connected, an unfamiliar voice flowing through the speaker. Sarah? It's Gavin, Marcus's therapist. I hope you don't mind my call. Stunned, Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. What did he want? Why was he reaching out to her? Jake's presence beside her grounded her, his reassuring hand resting comfortingly on her back. Hi. I didn't expect to hear from you, she stumbled over her words, her mind racing with questions. I know this may be unexpected, but Marcus has been making progress in therapy, and he wanted to reach out to you. He asked me to help facilitate that. Gavin's calm tone was a stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside Sarah. Why should I even consider talking to him? Her voice edged with defiance as pain and mistrust bubbled to the surface. He hurt me, and I can't just forget that. I understand completely, Gavin replied gently. But healing requires honesty. Marcus is trying to confront his actions and take responsibility. He wants to make amends. Would you be willing to listen? As the words hung between them, Sarah's heart beat a rapid rhythm, caught in the throes of old wounds and a glimmer of hope. Jake glanced at her, his eyes urging her to consider. You don't have to say anything you're not ready for, he reminded her. Taking a deep breath, she turned her gaze back to the horizon. The sun was beginning to set, casting an amber glow that painted the world around her. With every passing second, her fears began to wane, replaced by the spark of newfound strength. Okay, she finally said, her voice steadier than she felt. I'll consider talking to him, but on my own terms. Gavin's voice softened. That's all I'm asking, Sarah. Just a conversation when you feel ready. He knows he has to earn your trust back, but it starts with understanding. Sarah hung up the phone, a mixture of relief and worry washing over her. She looked at Jake. I can't believe that just happened. I actually might talk to him. Jake's smile was bright and encouraging. That's huge, Sarah. You've taken a step towards reclaiming your story. It can only get better from here. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt the weight of her burdens lift. She had taken charge of her narrative, and that was powerful. With his support steadied at her side, they continued walking, but now each step felt lighter, filled with possibility. The conversation didn't erase the past, but it allowed her to understand it better. She took Jake's hand, characters of her life intertwining in this moment, a hopeful twist of destiny. Weeks passed as Sarah navigated this new territory. Her confidence grew with each passing day, from friendly coffee dates with Jake to heartfelt discussions about dreams and aspirations. The connection they formed deepened, blooming like spring flowers after a long winter. She felt alive again, filled with laughter and moments of pure joy that she thought had been stripped away. Then came the day when she deemed herself ready. With shaky nerves but an unyielding resolve, she agreed to meet Marcus on her own terms and in a public place surrounded by the warmth of other people. It felt like stepping into the unknown, the possibilities both thrilling and terrifying. When she arrived at the cafe, Sarah spotted Marcus sitting alone at a corner table. His expression was earnest, a mixture of regret and determination gracing his features. Her heart pounded as she approached, but as she sat down, she sensed the strength she had cultivated blooming inside her. Thanks for coming, he said quietly, eyes searching hers, desperate for understanding. Let's talk, she replied, finding her voice strong and unwavering. But know that this isn't a magic fix. Trust has to be rebuilt, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet. His head dipped, understanding her hesitation. I'll do the work, I promise. I just wanted to apologize sincerely. I've been reflecting on the pain I caused, and I want to show you that I've changed. As they shared their thoughts, Sarah felt a wave of clarity wash over her. Regardless of what happened, she was no longer the timid woman trapped in an unhappy marriage. The past didn't define her, it was a lesson, a stepping stone towards a brighter future. After their conversation, she walked away with a renewed sense of self. It was still uncertain, but she was no longer afraid. With Jake, she found joy and comfort, and with Marcus, she understood the closure that had eluded her. As she looked towards the horizon, the sun kissed the sky with hues of hope, blues, pinks, and golds blending effortlessly. For the first time in a long time, Sarah felt free. She had a path forward, open and clear, filled with wisdom and newfound love. Life glimmered with endless possibilities, and she was ready to embrace them all. Now it's your turn. If you love this transformative journey, you need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Don't wait not even one more second to hit that like button and help us feed the algorithm. We want to hear from you in the comments. Share your reactions and feelings about this ending. And remember to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful transformation. Your support truly means the world.